isn't something that we should be looking at for generic 3D graphics as an additional piece to the 30-year-old viewpoint view matrix type setup? Or am I confused?
You're confused, but I think we can. You're not. I
don't think I'm as confused. I don't think I'm totally confused, Roger.
You're not totally confused, but kind of confused.
Okay.
But I think it needs just a longer discussion. That's all.
Okay, that's fine. All right. Okay, let's keep going then. All right, on to audio. So let's take a look at some of these pages. So speech recognizer is completely new for 12.0, right?
Yes.
And yesterday we couldn't actually try it out, but let me just go ahead and move this into 12.0.
Unfortunately, due to that neural network problem, I don't think it's going to be, I don't think you can try it again today.
Okay, fine. But let's at least look at, I mean, I've seen it before, but let's at least look at documentation. Is that consistent with the wording of text recognize?
I have looked at them side by side, but obviously things are somewhat different.
No, it's okay.
No, this is similar.
What does that mean for audio here? Structural level. Oh, I see. Yeah, it's kind of random for this, probably.
Right.
I mean, I'm not even sure that's a necessary option for this, for speech recognize. For text recognize, where the words can be splattered all over the page, it's relevant. Well, actually, it is relevant. And the thing that's relevant to it is not this at all. It's, if I say, hello there, bzz, 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 hello there, you want to separate those two out. Do you understand what I'm saying?
So you want to work.
What would be the separation criteria?
I don't know. You tell me. I mean, it's a certain interval of time or something, but that's because that's also going to be the cases that you want to segregate are different speakers or periods of non-speech, in my opinion. Because if you think about it, a lot of applications, they'll be like imagine, I don't know, let's say you're transcribing air traffic control, right? You want each separate message as, there's a bunch of silence or noise followed by, turn left to heading such and such or whatever. And you want to be able to break those out. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Then I think that's much more relevant than list of words, which I think is kind of irrelevant here. And I do think, I don't think it's a structural level. I think it's some kind of, how you separate the components of the output. Make sense?
It does. I'm trying to think. We are not going to have that in 12. I'm guessing. And I'm wondering how we should release speech recognize in 12.
As an experimental function.
Without the current level specification, sentence, word, or something.
Yeah, I think we should rip that out. I think it's irrelevant.
Maybe we should rip out properties as well then. Because interval only makes sense for if we have some
if you can do this thing with positioning the text, the speech. Let's see, trimmed audio containing, that again doesn't make sense.
Okay. So we'll go one arc form.
I think so. Yeah, I think so, as the experimental thing. And it's just that's kind of what we did with text recognize as well at the beginning.
I think we didn't have experimental back then.
Well, whatever.
But it was a one arc form.
Yeah.
First when we released it, yes.
This business here, how uniform have we been in stating that issue?
Your screen is frozen for me. Is that the same for others?
I can see it. It's overriding it. There you go.
Okay. Sorry, which
I'm asking about this thing here.
Yes, that's systematically added to functions that require assets.
Okay.
Same for the one.
I'm kind of wondering if that should be, if we should start decorating some of this documentation with some, I'm not thinking about Bourbaki, curved roads or Knuthian exclamation marks, but some kind of decoration for paragraphs like that. Roger, what do you think?
I think if they can be decorated within and not sort of, because there's only so many icons you can have at the top level.
No. We don't want it at the top level. I'm suggesting that when you go to, let's imagine you go to like, let's go here to like text recognize. Oh, great. All right, let me go to a version which is working here. By the way, Roger, are we going to push to get the probabilistic computation top level tile?
Let's get through the design reviews, and if I have bandwidth, I'll just do it then. Is that okay?
Yeah. Why is this not working? What on earth am I doing wrong here?
It works in my prototype today. If you
this
do
isn't the
ref
prototype.
slash.
This is a.
Oh, this is an older one.
Oh, for goodness sake! This is a released build, so something has corrupted my system. Can
you just do the ref slash text recognize?
Yeah, I can. I'm just sending something here. Sending a chat. Yeah, but this is a bug that needs to be fixed, and it needs to be checked that it's not affecting my mobile machines. If Loris happens to be here, could you please look at the chat channel? Okay. 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 All right, let's look at this. So what I'm suggesting is, yeah, I mean, I don't know how it would work visually. By the way, those are too big. We don't have any project management people here, do we?
No.
So am I going to then do this? I guess I have to do this. I reported this before.
I know that. Okay. Right. So, I'm still waiting on spec from Brian and...
Okay, I think you need to push a little harder there.
I will do that.
Okay, so what I'm suggesting is that, we put a different icon here in those cases or something. Am I making sense, Roger?
Yeah.
Or maybe indent something here. Let's make sure that's discussed. We're supposed to have let me just send mail. Okay. Okay. All right, so let's keep going here. So language, you're not supporting that at this time. Don't we have a whole bunch of other language models?
For speech recognize, we have, I think we have one or two. We just have English now.
I think we're really good at Chinese. Could be.
Yes.
Very good.
That's what I was thinking, right?
Yeah, I think so. At least that. So I suggest that we, we'll make some statement languages supported include blah and blah.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Sure.
We better make sure that that's fully tested, because I think all has gone to English at this point. So
right, I understand, and we're not ready yet because I don't think all those things are. Is the language model in fact hooked up at this time?
It is. It has been for a while. Tim has been trying to speed up that language model as well.
Hey, by the way, did there was a student at the summer school who did a pretty good project on adding punctuation using machine learning.
Okay.
So if nothing else, we could use her network.
Sure.
And I think she was going to put it in the neural net repository.
Great.
It's actually a pretty nice project. And there's also another project that was done there, was determining whether a sentence is a question.
Mm-hmm.
So both
that I don't see going into speech recognition. Oh, yeah.
It needs to.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's keep going. Pitch recognize. So is that a real thing at this point?
Yes. This one is not in product.
Recognize is the main build, the main pitch. That's really weird. That's really weird. I see. Wait. Not it as a time series object. I see what you're saying. You return 440 hertz over this period type thing. Is that correct? Right. I see.
But the spec, when you do quantization, see that spec down there?
Yeah.
You can specify if you want MIDI tones, for instance.
Okay, that's nice, but what about returning it as a sound object?
I guess that's going to be a separate function, something like audio sound or something.
Why?
Because not all of
at least as useful as this, if not more useful.
But you may as well have just a speech signal, and we don't have a good way of representing it as a sound object.
Wait.
Unless you say we just...
If look, this is returning the main pitch, right? So 440 hertz. I play middle A on a piano. I'm going to get 440 hertz. I play middle A followed by middle G or something, right?
But it's going to be changing over time.
I know that.
And if you whistle, it might not be sort of at a certain beat or anything like that,
I'm aware, but what you're saying is you are trying to return 440 turning into, let's say C goes to A, 256 going to 440, right? At a certain time point in the time series, correct?
Yeah.
But the time series is going to hold a value like at 256 or something.
No.
What do you mean, no? I mean, if I play the note.
Yes.
Then it will hold that value in the time series, right?
Yes. So it will have samples in the time series, but it will vary and it won't follow.
I'm confused. Let's see if there's an example here.
Yeah.
What the heck is that?
That's the pitch.
But that didn't look like that's a list line plot. That's not even a date list plot.
Well, there's no dates.
I know, but does list line plot work on time series?
Yes.
And what scale does it give?
The one that's in the time series. That's, I think, in seconds here.
Okay, fine.
3.5.
All right, okay. So what this is saying is, this is like with a little beep there. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. So what you're imagining, okay, so there's a separate issue, which is converting this to the closest MIDI, to the closest, essentially vector sound object.
Right. So for instance, if you whistle, a kind of a tune or something, you can have your whistle played on a piano or a trumpet or something.
In other words, you're saying you can transfer the whistle. What are you saying here?
Yeah, if you use that spec up there to get the sort of the MIDI notes, then you can transfer it to.
What do you mean by MIDI notes? I mean, is it going to give the MIDI number, or what's it going to give? Because we use a modified MIDI number, as you know.
I know, and that's what I think it's saying up there.
Sound note pitch is the one.
Sound note pitch, yes, sorry.
Is the one that our sound note expects.
Okay. Okay, so that's going to give a bunch of integers, whereas this is giving a bunch of things in hertz. Is that correct?
Frequencies, yeah, that's the difference.
But in hertz, right? It's not trying to give them, it's giving them as a quantity array, so to speak.
Right. I'm not sure if.
I think there are numbers.
Yeah.
I think they should be a quantity array.
Or there could be time series with quantities.
Quantity values.
Yeah, that's fine. However you want to do that, but my point is, it should be in hertz, because all of the audio functions operate in hertz, right?
It is in hertz, but the only question is, does it bring the unit along with it? And it can.
Okay, I think it should by default. You can always say quantity magnitude if you want to get rid of the unit. But okay, so my question is, what is the analog of image graphics? It will be like audio sound, which is a little bit of a weird name, right?
Yes.
Which is the approximating sound object to an audio. And what you're saying here is that if I do the sound pitch thing, what would be my way of mapping? And this is something we should think about, actually, because when we invented sound, we didn't have time series.
Right.
So arguably, sound should be able to eat time series. Am I making sense?
Yes. We really haven't.
We haven't really thought about that, but I think application examples will show you some of the things that you want to do now. I'm not sure how cleaned up they are, but let's go down.
There is one example that does convert to sound. I think the last one maybe, but look at those as well.
That's a mess, the way that's being done. That's really a mess. Yeah, we need a better way to do that. And I would suggest the way to do that is to be able to feed sound note. Oh, wow. That's really messy. Anytime you use sequence, it's bad. I don't even know why it doesn't just say sound note applied to whatever. Why isn't it not just saying sound note applied to?
That should work as well. Right. A list of
so get rid of all that junk.
Sure.
Okay, but in any case, it seems to me that sound note should be able to take a time series. See what I'm saying?
We should look into that.
Okay. All right, fine.
You're taking notes, right, Shadi?
Yes.
I'm counting on you.
Yeah, I am. And this is all recorded.
Okay. That's true too. Yeah. Okay. So what do you mean if a pitch isn't detected? I think you should say something like if there isn't a lot of energy in a single frequency or something. Whatever. I think you have to be a little clearer on what that means. Oh, a single pitch at any given time. Well, a single dominant pitch, because if it's a piano, for example, the fundamental has lots of energy in it, but there is other stuff too.
The thing is, the signal can have anything, but we assume a monophonic signal, and we just detect the first fundamental frequency. And you're right, if there is none, we give a missing.
Okay. Okay, so we talked about yesterday, the word frequency range is just not.
Right.
I mean, maybe that could be min-max frequency. I mean, you're thinking of it as analogous to plot range.
Yes.
Right.
What the heck is that? Partition granularity. Again, way too.
That's something that all of these sound audio processing functions have.
Is it an existing thing?
Yes.
Instead of having that as a bunch of arguments, it's an optional thing.
What does it mean?
It's how you chunk the sound, how you chunk it when you're processing it.
It's typically the three arguments: the duration of each chunk, overlap of them, and the smoothing function.
And so audio join, for example, how does that have one of these? Is it relevant to audio join? I mean, if it's taking pieces of sound, or am I confused?
No, we don't have it in audio join.
But shouldn't we? Because it would be the...
Are you thinking about leaving some gaps or overlapping audio when we're joining them?
I guess not. But do we have a version of audio join that does allow that in the way that sound note allow that?
We don't.
Perhaps we should. Right, because I mean, it's a thing where you essentially...
No, I'm wrong, sorry. So there is an audio 1 T1, audio 2 T2, which specifies the start time.
In what? In audio join?
Yes.
Okay, so then why don't we have this option in audio join?
This is really a different thing.
Yeah.
There is no partitioning happening in audio join to have partition granularity.
All right, okay. Whatever. Let me not chase that one. I don't know what you should call this. What do you want to call this? Frequency range is just way too general.
I'm fine with what you suggested yesterday and today, both. Yesterday allowed frequency range, I think, and today min-max frequency range. They're all okay.
But what does it actually mean? It is the frequency
at which you are actually trying to find it.
Mm-hmm. So sometimes it could be the parameter for the algorithm that detects pitch. But sometimes it could be something like a post-processing.
I think allowed frequency range is fine. It's not the most profound, but it's fine. Okay. Should we move on?
Sure.
You know, if you really wanted to, you could say frequency value and have that be the magnitude and frequency be the thing in hertz.
What?
I see. Okay. For the spec, frequency magnitude and frequency.
I'm thinking maybe, yeah, I mean, frequency magnitude would be just the number and frequency would be 75 hertz, for example. Sure. Okay, let's go on. Speech synthesize. So we've already had a version of speech synthesize. I was playing around with it.
Yes.
So the idea here is that this voice styles, if you look that up.
What kind of voice can we have here?
Yeah, let's go to voice styles and you will find.
We had a dollar voice styles before in 11.3 that was listing just the names of available voices. Now we are replacing that with the function voice styles bracket, which is a lot richer than that.
So what are you saying? I should look at voice style?
Yes, voice styles.
And you can see, you might not like the design, Stephen, but the direction you're going to like. So you see there is age, gender, language. Those are important.
Yeah, I understand that.
So now I would be able to say...
I don't like the design because, I mean, look, let me give some analogies to things like this, okay? We've got different musical instruments. That's a bizarre list of things that I don't think we've never had a dollar variable for it. I was going to put it in the data repository, what that list is. Because we just got to have the list.
It's even going to be operating system dependent.
I'm aware. But I mean, the analogy to that, okay, so let me give you an analogy, which I think works okay right now, is dollar font families. Okay? Which is system dependent, and it's just like blip, but it's useful. And I don't understand why dollar voice styles isn't fine for that.
It wouldn't be. I mean, because how would you know by name what the heck it is?
How do you know for these fonts by name what the heck it is?
Yeah, I think it's not a good design. I really don't think it's a good design, Steve. I mean,
okay, look, the reason that it's not a bad design is because we actually have the following thing.
That's true. So you never use it, actually.
Well, I actually do use it. I do use it for programmatic purposes, right? Okay. So this is where we are displaying, those, right, in the autocomplete.
But I think it's important to be able to pick someone in the right language and probably gender as well.
I agree with that. But the question is, okay, so you could say the same thing about fonts. I want to pick a sans serif bold font.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice if we had a design like that?
Maybe, but let's think about it. I mean, okay, let's look at the different cases where we have things like this, okay? Because we also have that for our own style sheets. Am I making sense? In other words, you could argue that there are these things which are selectable by tags.
Yeah.
Right? But they're pretty arbitrary and you can't really count on. I mean, you might be able to burn in, okay, for any of these things. All right. So what we do with fonts in the style sheets is we have these what are they called? Font substitutions, right?
Yes.
Oh, for goodness sake. This is really broken. This really needs to be fixed. Okay. This is the in 12.0, right? That's broken. Okay, because that's also what you'd want. List of substitutions to try for font family names.
So instead of Bob, you should try John. I think we need a little bit more.
What's that? No, the point here is that if you see Geneva, use Helvetica, okay? And that's going to come up again if you have the Alex voice or something.
Right, but I don't think voices are as recognizable as fonts. Helvetica and Geneva are very old standard things.
Well, I know, but I mean, like Roboto Slab. I actually know what that one is like.
Yeah,
but or Ceravec, I've no idea what that one is. Right, but so the problem we're trying to solve here is
I think what we're trying to solve is to give the user a fighting chance without experimentation to get the right choice, what you want.
Yeah, well, so let's talk about, in the font case, many times I have just said, let me sample all of these.
And you can if you want to with voices too.
Yes, but it's a lot more bizarre. Because obviously here, if I want to sample all of them, if I just say,
and you might have installed some like Chinese fonts or Japanese.
No, I understand. That's fine. That's easy enough to do. And I can label them and so on, right? But if I did that with audio, if I did that with speech synthesize, I would get a goofy result, right? I mean, I could. Can I try it?
Yeah.
So how do I get? So what I get for voices is dollar voice styles, right? Okay. So it's a more modest number. I don't know whether it's going to stay modest or whether this is going to inflate like fonts. I would guess it will follow the pattern of fonts, which is that it will gradually inflate, but not infinitely. Do you agree?
That's what I would expect.
I think so.
I expect that there will be more and more elaborate, what do you call them, models for generating.
Sure.
What are they called?
But I think the other thing is that, unlike with, so what hasn't happened with fonts is something which says, I want it in, Thomas Jefferson's handwriting. Right. But arguably, so that is amusing. I just, Hello. I don't know if this can be heard over there. Can you hear those things?
You need to share your audio. And
how do I do that?
Set up in your Zoom panel. You need to add new share.
This sounds scary. In the audio options?
I don't see where it is now because I'm seeing a different Zoom panel.
Well, anyway, all right. Look, I can hear these things anyway, so. That's just freaking weird. You might want to take yourself off there. That's in Chinese. The last one of these is in Chinese, I think.
Right.
But it's in Chinese. It's saying hello. But it's trying. That's a funny one. Hello. All right, I have to share these because these are too good to not share. How do I do that now?
Do you see a button that says new share?
I do.
Guess if you click on that, then you reselect your screen and then say share audio.
Oh, share computer sound. I see it.
Yes.
Okay, so now.
Hello.
Yeah,
is that?
Yep.
Hello.
What the heck is that one? I mean, but it's not saying it in. So, okay, what is this? Alan W. Black.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
I wonder where Alice is from.
Hello.
Well, how do we find that out?
Well, with the new
Hello.
voice styles, bracket.
Okay.
I'm guessing this one is your 11.3.
Okay.
So you have to go back to 12.
Okay. So you're saying if I say voice styles,
Alice.
it's not turning black. Okay, maybe it's in the prototype build.
Yeah.
Yes.
Someone is asking on the live stream, are we going to improve cloud support for audio? The answer is yes, it's being worked on. Is that a correct answer so far as you guys know?
Yes.
Yes.
In fact, the primary problems have to do with the decoration of audio, and I think the streaming of audio is expected to work well. Is that a correct statement?
It's going to use the same mechanism as we are streaming sound object, which has been resolved already in the cloud.
Oh, so the cloud can stream a sound object.
Yes.
This can't stream an audio object. Right. Okay, so you're saying voice styles, okay, of Alice.
Oh, so if you say hello as an Italian, hello.
Who just said that?
I did.
You can do that? Wow. Okay. Okay.
Amusing.
Look, I do agree. Okay, so I'm going to make a different suggestion. I mean, what happens in the autocomplete, if what happened in the autocomplete here was similar to what happens in the font family autocomplete, which is to show an indication of what you're going to get, we could imagine doing the same thing in this autocomplete, in the voice style autocomplete.
Something like Alice, female Italian, 35, or something like that.
Right,
okay.
Exactly. But
I think that would be great. I think we need to talk to them because it's going to be a little bit more dynamic. It's going to have to adapt per platform.
Yeah, but so does it on the font family thing.
I guess it does, yeah.
Right, I mean, that's completely pulled in locally.
Yeah.
Okay, but I mean, honestly, it's a bit of I kind of like having this voice styles thing that you can, I mean, look, being able to understand the properties of the thing and somehow being able to get this association out does seem useful.
Mm-hmm.
Look, the real way this should be handled is these voices should be entities. And then they can have properties up the wazoo. You get what I'm saying? But I don't know whether we can do that.
But then if you make that let's say you make it an entity. Yeah. Can you really do that? What is it?
Oh, yeah, you can make it an entity. It's just a voice style entity. I mean, just like we have, for example, what do we have as entities? I mean, things that we don't have.
Global these names are. I mean, can you have two Victorias? I assume yes.
Well, if you can have two Victorias, then we have a whole mechanism for canonicalizing entities.
Okay.
If we want to have this discussion, we should get Alan Joyce in here for a minute.
I'll get him.
Okay. By the way, Roger, you suddenly sound very loud to me. Did that happen to everybody else as well?
Really?
Oh, no, you're not. Okay. I thought it might have changed with sharing the computer audio. Okay, but so I think that would be the correct solution, and honestly, that would be the correct solution probably for fonts as well, because that way, I mean, right now we don't have any way to ask for properties of fonts, right?
Actually, wouldn't you know something about fonts?
Yeah, right. Are they sans serif? Are they whatever? I mean, what we do have now. So let me give you an example of something similar to that. Is character lambda, for example. Let's try that. Okay, so that is a Unicode character, and it has just a whole boatload of properties. Okay, and that thing there, well, it's not as big a boat as I thought it was. But you see what I'm saying? This properties, this is different from, and I don't know how to handle this. This is a different thing from the actual escape lambda escape, which is just a string. Well, actually, just a piece of input. Yeah. Okay. So that's an analogous case where we have. But here we have naked strings representing the voices and representing the fonts. Let's wait for Alan to join and then let's discuss this some more. But I'm still supporting the dollar voice styles, although I'm not certain that it should return naked strings. Okay? And I completely agree that the autocomplete should contain, if your goal is to select a voice. Okay, so there's multiple different issues here. One is substitutions. If Alex is out to lunch, do you take Fred instead? If you understand what I mean.
Right.
Right. Which is what we have for fonts, although I don't know how well worked through the font substitutions table is. Arguably, we should have the same issue for musical instruments, although we don't have that because we're supporting a standard set of MIDI musical instruments, basically. do we have the list of musical instruments now? Did that get generated? I just think, could we just generate that? I think Alan just joined us here. Hey, Alan, can you hear me?
He is not on audio yet. He is now.
Hello. Yep.
Hi. Okay. We are looking at voices in speech synthesize, and we're observing that both with fonts and with voices. So with voices, there's a proposal to introduce a new voice styles function, which would return things like, this is an Italian age 35, blah, 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 right? So what I was saying is it would be more natural if we're going to do stuff like that to make voices be entities. And then the issue is they are quite system dependent and they're a bit like fonts. Mm-hmm. Why are fonts not entities? One question. Another question is, are musical instruments going to be entities? I mean, I think they are entities somewhere.
They are. Right? Yeah, there's no audio information associated with them. Okay, but so this is a musical instrument, but does it work if I say sound? No. No.
Okay, that's bad. That should be made to work. Is it just going to fail here? Yeah. Okay, so that's a glitch that should be made to work. Because right now, I mean, okay, so that, Shadi, one thing for you, I think there should be $1 musical instruments or $1 musical instrument styles or something.
That's the ones that SoundNote accepts, you're thinking.
What's that?
Do you want the list of instruments that SoundNote accepts?
Yes.
Okay.
But the question is, okay, the other glitch is that SoundNote should accept entities as for instruments as well as the strings.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so we can add a property with whatever you need to know to identify that for SoundNote, and
exactly, and then SoundNote can do it.
Right.
Okay. Ethan Black 86 on our live stream is making the comment that the autocomplete for fonts is great but difficult to browse through. Having a built-in style browser GUI for any style family, e.g. sounds, fonts, graph layouts, etc., would be lovely. I don't entirely disagree. I mean, we've ended up, let's do an analogy. We've ended up with a somewhat bizarre color schemes palette, which is, again, an example of pretty much the same type of thing.
Yeah, and we have the same for charts.
It should be under your DocuTools.
Oh, underneath. Oh, I see. Right. So the basic point is there are a bunch of style choosing things, and we don't have a uniform way to handle them.
Not necessarily style as well. I was thinking even device choosing is similar to that. Audio devices, which one to pick from for input devices, recording, or which one to send to.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is, okay, so look, building these things, maybe, we have the technology, so to speak, to build these things. What we don't have is a uniform way to call them up. Right? Because, I mean, arguably, the right way to do this would be something like the following, that instead of having font family, have a giant list there, and it is going to be giant on most people's computers, that it is a more modest list together with something that is more analogous to what we get for RGB color, which says choose color here, right? I mean, it would be nice to have the font thing come up in that kind of way, I would think.
Yeah.
Okay, so look, we've got some various user assistance things. So let's parameterize the different issues here. I mean, right now we have file browse, which does do. Did we have file browse? Do we have?
No, but if you need file completion, it will give you a similar Is that what you meant?
Yes, but we have a function that brings up a browser. Don't we?
So isn't that a system
dialog input?
Yeah.
There's another form of this, though. Yeah, okay. I mean, there's one of these. I wonder what the color one of those does. So, oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Ethan Black 86 is suggesting style browser of colors or sounds or whatever. Yeah, that was kind of where I was about to go, actually. It's not quite, I mean, it's a whole collection of different kinds of things, and it's not necessarily styles, but it's something browse, and then some string name, and that will be the programmatic way to pull the thing up. But you see, the problem is what we really need is something where we can either browse it interactively, or we can just get a list of the possibilities. Assuming it's a discrete list. For colors, it's not a discrete list, but for many of these things like color schemes, it is a discrete list. For chart elements, I bet it's also not. Is it? Well, what's the story with chart element schemes? Is that a discrete list as well?
No, it's parameterized set of things. I mean, it's a discrete at some level, but they're parameters.
Right. So each one of these is more like a pure function than it is like a string name.
Right.
What's the deal in system model with these kinds of things? Are there a boatload of other ones there?
How to phrase it to look like this problem? Well,
I mean, you've got that browser, you've got the gallery thing.
The model gallery?
Yes.
Are you talking about system model or are you talking about Wolfram Language?
I'm talking about Wolfram Language with system model in it, so to speak.
Okay.
But so Roger, that gallery thing, the plan is to rename that, right? What is the plan to name that?
I think that we will eventually transition over to a resource system backed. Our example is going to be resource system backed. And then we'll figure out what to do there, because we got to give users a fighting chance to get something to play, so to speak. So we can't let it go until we have the replacement.
No, I understand. Okay, so let me also comment then that the resource system is another backing. For example, for the voices, we could imagine, I have no idea how these voices work right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was an OS package that you could, if basically some new voice.
It's a little clumsier. This needs to be kind of real time, right?
Well, not the first time you use it. I mean, in other words, if you're going to load in, and I don't know whether this is happening, the whatever, the James Earl Jones voice or whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm. No, it's kind of true. Yeah, there could be various extensions and all that. Donald Duck.
Right. Yeah. Ethan Black on our live stream is commenting that it would be nice to be able to browse all the string options and sub options to any symbol. Yeah, that's a complicated problem because unfortunately those things are richer than just a straight list of symbols in many cases.
Yeah, a lot.
But I want to come back to this problem because this is in a way like a gallery. Programmatic access to the options is closer to being a reality with Wolfram Language data. But I mean, you've got now the system model. What is it called? System model examples, right? I'm not keen on this as such, but just to give a sense of this is another case. Okay, and question for Alan. Are there any, right now, the entity documentation pages are providing yet another case of basically essentially listing off entities. Is that true? I mean, only a subset of them, I think, in most cases.
There's nothing on those that lists a ton of entities. There's a small set of sample entities and entity classes for every exposed type that are also programmatically accessible.
Okay.
But it's like 5 or 10 in each case.
Okay, but the problem here is, what we want to do. All right, so look, some of these are discrete, some of them are not discrete. Some of them are, many of them are quite fluid, as in they come from the operating system, or they're things where one could easily see a new version having a bunch of different ones and so on, right? So the problems are, what are the problems we're trying to solve? One problem is, what am I doing here?
You've got to somehow give information that makes it easy to choose.
Yes, I understand, but that's not the only problem we're trying to solve. I mean, one thing is, how to choose. Okay. Another thing is expose a programmatic list of everything. List maybe with filtering, right? For the case where you're basically programmatically, okay, how to choose one interactively. Let's see, what's another case? Another case is, gosh, what am I missing here? Sorry, I was just realizing there were other cases here. What did I miss here? Well, I mean, okay, the how to choose one interactively breaks into autocompletes and palettes. And I suppose within autocompletes, we have either a menu listing or a chooser, right?
Right.
And the palette could be just a bigger version of the chooser, but it's in different place form factor wise. Okay, the next question is, a question here is, are the things, okay, yes, here's another one. Find the properties of a thing, of one of the choices.
So one of the things we did for the plot themes was to build a kind of a iconic prototype that doesn't tell you everything about it, but it tells you enough to hopefully...
Well, that's what you're doing here as well.
Yes.
Right. So, a typical strategy here, iconic prototypes. I'm thinking for the iconic prototypes, the voices.
I don't know how to do it.
We get ensnared with political correctness or something. I don't know what.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It's like, do you have the Italian, wearing the Venetian gondola, whatever, or some other characteristic Italian dress? Honestly, that would allow people to pick quickly to do that.
Yeah, but do we really want to go there?
I don't know. It's a good exercise for the design department.
One other thing for your list is to pick programmatically. For instance, we language identify the text is Italian. Maybe even we gender identify the text is spoken by a female.
How are we going to do that if it's text?
Well, I don't know. Down the road, we may have some gender identification on text.
Shoddy, that's one of those.
Is it talking about shoes or football?
Oh, I see. Okay, fine.
Something like that.
No, not a good idea. Yeah.
But anyways, I think general idea, pick based on context, what to choose.
Sure, but that's an automatic pick. Right, I agree with you. There's no point in having it's going to be hopeless to have a British voice speak Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then you're pointing out automatic picking based on context of some kind,
right.
e.g., voice suitable for Chinese. Okay, but let's come back to the. By the way, I don't think my idea of these illustrations is totally insane for the voices. Well, maybe it is insane because these voices will come and go. Well, no, if we can generate, okay, question. The thing you're generating, that's that association that says that, you know, whatever it is, Yuri here is, I mean, essentially what's happening is this name, like Yuri, I can guess that Yuri is intended to be Russian.
Right.
Might be wrong, but I can guess that. And that's sort of the idea here. And the surprise here was that Alice seemed to be Italian. Whatever.
Hello.
Yeah, that's just weird. Because, you know, that seems like a, well, maybe. What's that one?
Hello.
I'm very confused.
Alva.
So, what's that? That was Alva, but why is Alice Italian?
Someone decided on that. We didn't pick the names.
No, I understand, but it's a stupid name for that because it's not what you would expect. I mean, you know, what you should do, I mean, we have a great way to pick this stuff, right? If we pick, for example, let's just pick, you know, in the case of Alice, for instance, look at this. Look at how wonderfully we can pick this.
Yeah, I understand. You mean
right?
the names for Wolfram Alpha?
Yeah. I mean, look at this. We will be able to predict from here, you know, the most common age of an Alice is 63 years. So that's a good way to pick. But whoever picked this one, it's kind of dopey. I don't think it's a common Italian name. I've never known anybody Italian called Alice, but whatever. What do we think this one? Like Comet. Is Comet like a misspelling of Kermit, the Irish name? Oh, I have no idea.
There you go. So you couldn't guess.
I can't guess from these names, but I think they're badly, you know, honestly, I think they're just badly done. I mean, okay, so I'm going to guess that one is Hindi or something, or some other Indian language, but I might be completely wrong. But I mean,
so up until now, we didn't have this meta information even. So that took some work to do for us.
I understand. Well, where do we get the meta information from, and is it correct?
From the system.
This metadata is coming, it's coming from the operating systems, or for the few that are generic voices for all platforms.
Which ones are generic voices?
Alan Black, SLT.
Which sounded awful, by the way. Alan Black. What is our default voice? Is it like Alex for the Mac? I think Alex is the general default voice.
It is definitely the system synthesizer on Mac and Windows. And I think we try to look into what's the system settings, because you can save what's your preferred language.
Hello.
What does SLT stand for?
We couldn't figure out whose name initials is that. For those that we could figure it out, we spelled it out as Alan Black. And
wait. So Alan Black is some voice actor or something who happened to make that recording. Is that right?
I actually think it's the researcher.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Yes, seems to be that gentleman.
Yep.
Okay. We could have that icon. You know, I ran into the woman who did the Siri voice at CES. I had a quite strange conversation in the end. I think it was captured by some tech magazine video thingy. Okay, in any case, okay, so what are we going to do here? So first point is, Okay, so let's look at this for the different cases. Okay, so what are the examples of this? So we have fonts, we have musical instruments, we have voices, we have color schemes. What else do we have?
Devices was another one.
Possibly devices. Yeah, audio devices, for example. Let's see, by the way, I'm going to save this away. And what on earth is this? This is, I'm going to save it in Style Pickers 1. Okay. Okay, but anyway, so we've got these various examples of things that we need to pick. And iconic prototypes, I mean, in some cases they're cheap, like fonts, it's trivial to generate it. In the case of voices, it's not so cheap, although, I don't know, do we want to see, we're kind of way over time. Could somebody see if Jeremy is around? I think he's expecting me in another meeting and just, oh no, maybe not. Can somebody see if Jeremy is around?
I'll see if I can find him.
Thanks. Okay. I don't know that Alan, Alan, do you have any thoughts here related to...
For instance, for speech synthesize, I don't know if this is going to be feasible, but if you could recognize what language the string is in, you could...
For sure. We can do a good job with that.
Yeah.
We've got language identifier and it works well.
Is it fast? It better be fast.
It's fast, yeah. It's a fairly small feed-forward network, I believe. I believe that's fast, and I believe that we've also used that. For example, we have a similar thing when you type you start typing into a string. See that? It's offering to convert to a text cell. Mm-hmm. That's a language identifier. That particular one is just a classifier for text versus code.
I see.
Okay. But this particular issue, find the properties of a choice. For example, if I go here and, pastel, for example, one thing I want, and why do I want to find the properties of a choice? E.g. for use in filtering, right? In filtering an exposure list. Because I might want to find all of the, here, I might want to find, I don't know, all of these that have...
for instance, for the color lists, okay, as opposed to those continuous ones, mm-hmm. We needed to design new ones because someone had decided to sort the color list so there was nearby colors next to each other. But in a pie, you got to be able to pick out the next slice from the neighboring one. So they need to be contrasting. They can't be nearby.
But we had particular... So what are you saying there? We
designed a bunch of new ones because there were none that were...
so these are the indexed color choices, is that correct?
Yeah. So around 45 or so, there's a bunch of new ones that we added.
Okay. But now, these things here could again... By the way, I assume that these come up in the autocomplete. If you're auto-completing, like for a pie chart, what the color scheme is.
Don't think I'm not sure.
Well, they probably should.
I don't think you could tell.
What do you mean tell? Tell what? That it's a pie chart?
If you pick one of the first ones, you're going to have a really bad pie chart. If you pick all the ones that were designed originally, you're going to have a really bad pie chart.
No, I understand that. But that means that for the pie chart, we should be selecting down for the autocomplete to show only color schemes that are halfway reasonable for the pie chart.
Right.
Hey, Jeremy, did you join us?
Yeah, I'm here.
We are looking at things like fonts, color schemes, other things that need choosers of various kinds.
Okay.
And one of the cases that we're running into is voices, where obviously the first guess would be that the names would determine it. And there's an attempt at that, but it turns out Alice is an Italian.
Okay.
And so I had raised the possibly crazy idea of iconic little personality icons for these. It's probably completely crazy. Well, why is it crazy? This one says Indonesian. There's an Indonesian flag.
Yeah, countries are fine. Anything beyond that, I think, is getting into, dangerous territory.
Well, but listen, what we have here is, let me show you something, right? So here it turns out.
A little blob with a piece of sample text that talks, that'd be great. If I could hear it, then you...
No, but you can hear it. But look at this case, Jeremy. That's 10 voices, and you can't tell squat.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, even if I open one of these up, well, I won't even see anything here.
You have to hear it to understand.
No, I know, I understand. I mean, if you can hear it, like.
Hello.
Couldn't we have
Hello.
Alice be an entity that has a little player instead of a string? I guess it's a string now.
Well, right. That's why. So Alan is here, and we were talking about that. But Here's what I would favor. Okay. Unfortunately, some languages don't have flags conveniently, like English, for example. Right? What do people do there? They typically use a combined,
Well, the accent's pretty relative to the flag.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So let's take a look here at let's look at what all of these are. Okay. Do we still have dollar voice styles here? I just copy them over. Let's just take a look at what all of them are.
You could ask for voice styles all to get all.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, here we go. Well, actually, iconographically, okay, so there clearly are reasonable icons here. First of all, most of the ages are the same, looks like, or close enough to the same, it doesn't matter. Phillips on the live stream is pointing out, back in the days of old, my GPS used flags. Yeah, I remember, I picked this Australian woman voice on my Garmin GPS. I thought I was being very exotic. And then it turned out that was the all-time favorite voice to pick. And that particular woman started to launch a singing career based on her appearance on the Garmin GPS.
I think I had what amounted to a pissed-off British woman on my GPS in Europe.
Fair enough. Well, and Flip Phillips is commenting that Homer Simpson had on was a flag of him, and John Cleese had was the python foot? Oh, I see. Oh, yeah, the foot from Monty Python, as opposed to the foot of a python, which it's a snake. It doesn't have feet. Never mind. Okay, but look, clearly here, these could be flags. Now, but here we've got two female. Oh no, we've got traditional Chinese and simplified Chinese. So, are there repeats here?
Yes,
we've got. So there are multiple voices that are a similar age. Okay, well, first of all, we can. And I was being stupid and thinking about the national dress. Obviously irrelevant. Flags are what we use. Although I don't know with Portuguese, but probably that is either Brazilian or Portuguese. So flags were clearly workable. The question is then, how do we actually expose? Well, okay, so the first thing we were trying to do is to get an autocomplete to work. And for that, flags would work well, I think. Now, you're claiming that there are some repeats here. Yeah, like here, Jorge and Juan are repeats for Spanish. Okay, and Alan W. Black and Alex are repeats for English. So how would we handle those? Probably we could handle those just by giving their names.
I think so, yes.
Because, you know, you're already getting a lot of the useful information from the flags, but that's how we'd handle the autocomplete. We still haven't handled the other features of our... Yeah, I mean, the problem, Jeremy, for you is we've got these different cases. We've got the palettes, we've got the autocomplete menus, we've got the choosers, like the RGB color chooser, and so on, right? It's a bunch of inconsistent things. And we need to standardize them. And we're really way over time here. Let me just see here. I think we have to wrap this meeting up, and whatever that was. So we're going to have to pick this up, and we're going to need another for the original image and audio. Well, we're making good progress, but we're not through this yet.
Right. I mean, these are real problems. I mean, I'm glad we are spending time on it, actually. It's good.
Yeah. So let's branch off a separate meeting. If I can, we'll need to branch off a separate meeting about these choosers and so on, whatever we call them, pickers, choosers, whatever. Okay, and let's maybe when we do that, we can get a project manager involved and actually get some. Maybe it should be Parth because it's going to feed into user assistance. And then let's get samples of all of the visuals that we have for all these things. And let's see what we can do with it. And in the meantime, I really prefer, you know, I have to say, I prefer dollar voice styles to this voice styles selector thing. I mean, I understand, I don't know whether there's any hack that we can do to take the string names and be able to essentially do entity property queries on the string names. Alan, any ideas for anything like that? From external reference or anything like that?
The question, sorry.
The question is, we've got naked string names for these voices, but we have this new proposed function, which I don't think is making it voice styles that will give us some properties of those things. The question is, do we have an analogy of something where there's a naked string and we ask for properties of it?
Not only within the specific domain data functions. I can't think of that.
I see what you're saying. So something like country data would ask for that.
You could, yeah.
I mean, it does. You know, country data of quotes Italy will work, even if Italy isn't an entity. But we don't have I mean, this would be a voice style data function, but that would be a hack.
Right.
But I mean, if you want to just keep the functionality there, Shadi, why don't you make this a voice style data function?
Okay.
Okay. And just, I mean, for now, we'll just put it as experimental, but it's not going to make it. But we just so that we can experiment with these things and we can find the data.
I guess as long as we don't go back to dollar voice styles, which doesn't, or maybe we will.
No, we want dollar voice styles. We want dollar voice styles.
Oh, so in addition to that.
Yeah, we have voice style data. Okay.
Okay.
We will need to figure out how to do that. Okay.
Okay.
All right. For those who are on our live stream, we are about to switch to another live stream for another exciting meeting about language design. So we'll see you all soon. And we'll see the people from this meeting in a follow-up.
Yep. Thank you.
See you later. Okay. Bye-bye.